Since the OnePlus 3T came out in November of last year, my tech pals and I have been asking the question, is the OnePlus 3 still relevant? Well, here are mine and Morgan's thoughts on the OnePlus 3 and how it stacks up in early 2017. So since the S8 and the iPhone 8/X aren't out yet, we can't really compare it to those. We can compare it to its younger and slightly better sibling, the OnePlus 3T though. I'm just going to preface this by saying that the clips in this video may be slightly old, but the content isn't. Since the 3 came out in June of 2016, I've tested many phones and I'm qualified to compare and contrast, critique and praise. The price back then was £309 in the UK. Luckily I managed to snag one before they hiked the prices up due to what I can only assume was a slight political change here in the UK. Since this device is less than a year old though, you still get all the modern hardware and for a cheap price as well. Since you can no longer buy it from OnePlus, is there much point? Well, we thought there may be, because you may be able to buy it second hand off a mate or off a second hand shop / page on Facebook or something. So as long as you're willing to look, you may be able to snag yourself a bargain for a phone that spec heads fell in love with, and it was announced to have 6 gigs of RAM. The design and build are two things that OnePlus 3 was praised on when it was first released, because a phone at this price point that could feel like this, well, OnePlus 3 actually proved us all wrong in the fact that it can. And I'm probably going to go back to the value thing every 10 minutes in this video. The metal and glass construction makes this phone feel amazing. It's safe to say this thing rivals Samsung, Apple and Sony in the build quality department. The device feels like a great balance between thin and light and a great slab of metal. I feel like the slightly curved back and sharp edges make the device feel a little thinner than it is, and with that camera bump you do have more of a chance of slightly scratching the front element. Both Morgan and I had cases on ours, so it wasn't a huge issue because the camera bump was alleviated by the thickness of the case. You will want to put a case on it though. It feels so perfect and refined, and having the smallest ding in it can make you cringe and wince like a little girl. As for the design, well, I actually love it. I said that originally that it seemed to copy the Mate 7 design from Huawei, and to be fair, it probably did, but all phones look the same nowadays, so I'll pass OnePlus on this one. I'm just going to add here that Callum, my best mate, actually said he doesn't like the design, he doesn't like the antenna lines. I kind of like antenna lines. It adds structure to a design that I feel would have looked way too plain otherwise. The off-screen buttons are also something that I like. They free up space on the screen, but leave the chin and forehead feeling a little bit big. To be nitpicky, I may have preferred the rear-placed fingerprint scanner, but maybe not, I'll be honest with you. It's hard to criticize this design because it's just that good. The difference in look between this and the 3T is slightly different grey colour. Not sure why you'd care, but maybe you do. Maybe you have a laptop or something and you just want to have that exact colour to match your laptop. For the display, you're getting a 5.5-inch 1080p AMOLED screen that looks stunning. As you guys know, I'm a huge fan of OLED panels. Super interested in one of those LG OLED panels. By the way, LG, you want to sponsor me? And so this display just reeks quality. Let me remind you that if you're arguing it's not QHD, Apple gives you a similar 5.5-inch 1080p display on the iPhone Plus models, and that's double the price. The screen on this is a really good size for me because I've been rocking 5.5-inch panels for a long time, since my 6S Plus, and I just love the form factor. I've dabbled in 6 and 6.5-inch phones as well as 4 and 4.5-inch phones. All three sizes definitely have their places, and I'd definitely be open to trying out other phone sizes, but I always tend to come back to that comfortable 5.5-inch screen, which just happens to be the screen size of the OnePlus 3. And what a stunner it is. I mean, it has the advantage of being AMOLED, but I think the overall viewing experience is great. You have those good sized bezels, so watching videos is easy because you actually have somewhere to put your fingers and hold the phone and not cover the screen. And the form factor is also great for doing just that. Playing games, watching videos, browsing social media, taking photos, anything, because your resolution isn't crazy high. It leaves UI elements large enough to be clear, but small enough to enable you to have a decent amount of them on the screen at the same time, which makes life easier. I really do like the standard of a 5.5-inch 1080p panel. For some reason, in a lot of videos, I quoted the OnePlus 3 as having a 13 megapixel sensor. Not really sure on God's earth where I got that figure, because it's 16 megapixels on the back with f2 glass and optical image stabilization. The OnePlus 3 can shoot UHD video at 30fps and 720p at 120fps, as most flagships do. The images that come out of this are actually quite good. The video was jittery when I had it, but Morgan says it's much smooth, it's like butter now with recent updates, and it's brilliant. The low light isn't the best with so many pixels crammed into a small sensor, and the aperture isn't insanely wide, but daytime shots look great. Even some dusky seaside footage can look okay. I definitely wouldn't call it Pixel, iPhone 7 or S7 Edge quality, but it's certainly sharp, and for the price tag, it's really not beatable. So the inclusion of OIS is always welcomed. As someone who has pretty shaky hands, your Instagram shots will definitely look good from this device. As for the secondary camera, you're getting an 8 megapixel sensor with f2 glass. This is one of the areas where it differs from the 3T because the 3T actually has a 16 megapixel front sensor. 16! Anyway, the 8 megapixel sensor on this device is actually really rather good. It's not super wide and it doesn't have OIS like HTC phones, but it one-ups the S7 Edge, which only has a 5 megapixel camera and is really rather sharp. Good on you, OnePlus. It even shoots 1080p video at 30 FPS too. The only thing that I'd like to add is if it had the wide angle lens of the Samsung devices. Another place where the 3T differs from the 3 is that the 3T offers a Snapdragon 821 with the 3's 820. The 821 is, from what I can tell, a slightly higher clock to 820 with some new features that I really didn't look into. The 820 coupled with 6GB of RAM is a significant contender in last generation's phone lineup because it was more RAM than most phones and the 820 was one of the top dogs. So how does that translate to real world use? The quad-core chip is more than capable of completing tasks like playing games, watching videos and multitasking with the 6 gigs of RAM. The system can run the 1080p panel with ease due to the software, animations are smooth and quick like they should be. I'd rate this one of the best performers, let alone for half the price of a standard flagship. The software is half what makes this device so unique. It's called Oxygen OS and it's OnePlus's OS built on top of Android 6.0 Marshmallow. It mixes stock with the ability to change stuff about. This means the ability to change items in the quick settings panel, adding more buttons, on-screen buttons, changing the overall colors and added themes. I really love this software and I support OnePlus with the decision to take stock and add features, not remove or edit the current ones. And the aesthetic is clean too. I mean, the software I'd say is one of the best built and it's just as well built as its hardware, which is excellent. So a great benchmark. The battery life, at least when I first had the device, was pretty horrific, but as with a lot of issues with this device, countless updates have breathed new life into it. The 3000 mAh battery gets a 13% increase in the 3T, but the 3 still has an okay sized battery. So in terms of Android phones, this battery is fairly small despite its size, but it's not all doom and gloom. You should get about 4 hours of screen on time, which isn't amazing, but it's definitely not the worst. Battery life should be improved by making the menus and backgrounds completely black, by turning off location services after every Pokemon Go marathon, and just to mention, dash charge works really well too. Super quick charging for this little beast. The speaker on this device isn't the best. It's bottom firing and sounds tinny if anything, but it's good enough to watch an odd YouTube video here and there, but I wouldn't be putting it up against the likes of the Nexus 6, the 6P, the Sony phones, or even the iPhone 7. The OnePlus 3 does indeed use Type-C as it should, but did you know that it only runs at 2.0 speeds? That's just something to mention. Apart from that, you do get a headphone jack and that's it for the ports and the I/O. The fingerprint scanner is front facing and acts as a capacitive home button, also is ridiculously quick. I'd call it the fastest scanner about, with only the iPhone 7/7 Plus coming close, but they both require a press to activate. OnePlus 3's is capacitive. Yeah, you just get to wake up the phone by touching the scanner. It's the fastest that I've ever experienced anyway. It's accurate, it's monstrously quick, no strange expansion abilities or wireless charging, but you do get this fantastic device in 64GB of storage for £300. Oh, and did I mention that it has dual nano SIM card trays as well? Yeah, that's super useful if you want to have a SIM for your data and a SIM to be able to contact people. So in conclusion, do I recommend the 3 still? Absolutely yes. The spec heads will love it, everyday users will love it, it's a fantastic smartphone at a price that you just can't argue with. The build quality is great, speed is fantastic, and I've never had a crash. Not only did I enjoy reviewing this device, but all my friends were interested in it as soon as I unboxed it. Katie loved it, Callum loved it, Harry loved it, everyone was asking, what is that phone? Who is OnePlus? And more importantly, how do I get one? The OnePlus 3 is a phone that I really think could appeal to a lot more people if they just marketed it in a more sensible way, although they're doing a much better job of this phone compared to the OnePlus 1 and OnePlus 2 in terms of its branding. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and please do leave a like and your thoughts and comments telling me what you think about the smartphone killer in the comments. As always, like if you liked it, dislike if you disliked it, and subscribe if you're new to never miss a video like this one. Thank you all so much for the recent support, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.